A few years ago, when I was in college, there was a tragedy near the university I was going to. An older woman had been found in her bathtub with her wrist slit. The kicker was that it had been there 3 months since she had died. So, she had just been sitting in the bathtub, full of congealed blood, for months, just rotting. Apparently, the stench was so bad that the neighbors had finally decided to confront her about it, only to find out that the owner had committed suicide. The house was cleaned and her possessions were sold. The bathtub was replaced. It was on the market for a while, but the real estate agent had to be very upfront about the tragedy, so no one wanted to buy it. The price dropped pretty far my senior year, which was lucky for me since I had just had a falling out with my roommate. I bought the house. I do believe in ghosts. I have since I was a child. Fortunately, I wasn't exactly scared by the idea of being haunted by this woman. She seemed more tragic than anything. I doubted she'd be malicious. It didn't take long for the activity to start. I'd find things placed in different positions than I had left them. Or, when I left the room, electronics would turn on or off. I didn't mind. I figured the woman was just bored after being dead for so long. I gladly shared my space and greeted her any time I could. It was 3 months after I started living there that the dreams started. They were always the same. A woman sobbing in the corner of the bathroom, whimpering out "the basement" over and over again. She was thin, almost shriveled, and the bathtub was filled with blood. The morning after I first had this dream, I went to the bathroom and found a rust-colored stain in the tub. I scrubbed it for what seemed like hours. I even tried bleaching it, but it wouldn't go away. It was probably paranormal, I figured. But I was confused by the sudden behavior of the spirit. It didn't make any sense, especially the dream. The house didn't even have a basement. Other than that, however, the normal activity continued. I began to leave small offerings for the spirit. Things like tea or food. They were always gone in the morning. I graduated later that year and prepared to move out of the house. I had been cleaning out the hall closet when I came across a strange trapdoor. Underneath some boxes I had haphazardly piled atop of it. Not really thinking, I hefted it open and lowered myself down the ladder that was inside. The first thing I noticed was that it stunk. It stunk really bad. The second thing I noticed was that it was furnished. There was an old bed, some armchairs, and a lamp. I figured it was probably just the past residents' forgotten items. I turned around to leave and I heard a crunch under my foot. When I looked to see what I had stepped on, I realized that I had recognized it. It was a small porcelain plate that I had owned. I quickly surveyed the area and instantly found more things of mine. There were dishes, silverware, clothing, even wrappers and half-eaten pieces of food that I had bought. I felt queasy all of a sudden. I got out of that basement as quickly as I could, and I stayed the night at a friend's house. I called the cops about the basement, and I was called into the station the following day. The first thing they told me was that someone had been living there, but they didn't find them. I was upset by this, obviously. I completely felt violated by the fact that someone else was in my home. The second thing they told me shattered the previous feeling and shook me to my core. They had found 20 bodies under the basement floor. They said they were all wrapped neatly in plastic, which stopped the smell of the rot spreading as quickly. All of them were women, and they all seemed to have been drained of blood. It appeared as if they were dragged through a tunnel connected the basement to the woods that conveniently resided right on the border of my backyard. I was horrified, but even more horrifying was the epiphany I had. The woman had not committed suicide. She had been killed by an unseen roommate.